Issue 97. We start out seeing a building in the east of New Tech City of the Special Zone where Lord Sidewinder still wants to get supersonic and thinks he could take over the planet with him. Does he have a brainwashing collar or something? What reason does he have to think he's able to do that? He makes Eggman look smart because at least Eggman put something on the time meter to control it. Supersonic even told him that he couldn't be controlled himself, so he's being pretty stupid and delusional. He says that his scanning equipment shows Sonic's energy readings, but he can't pin them down to a particular location for some reason. On the other side of the city, the Chaotix and Sonic are fighting Dr. Plague and his goons. Dr. Plague says that if anyone looks at him, he'll smash a veil with a virus that'll wipe out all life in the entire city. The entire was redundant there and made the line look stilted. I'm guessing he won't have a reason for why he turned out this nuts either. I'm pretty sure that even the generic superhero fiction these villains are probably ripping off would at least bother to give every supervillain an excuse. Dr. Plague shows how nuts he is because he doesn't care that he died with the city. Sonic Gouts, seriously, did his girlfriend break up with him? Is that why? Sonic gouts him into throwing the veil, and Sonic's super speed lets him catch it. Then he throws some more veils, which is genre savvy of him, and Sonic catches them with his super speed too, after a brief intentional moment of tension by Sonic to show off. Then Charmy says that a message from Mobius is coming from Porker, who he still doesn't know when you'd think Sonic would have told the Chaotix all about his friends by now as basic conversation. After Porker is cut off telling Sonic in a panic to come home, two suns appear in the sky. I assume one of them is Supersonic, which is pretty intimidating. Sonic is told about a prophecy in the Special Zone that such a thing would happen at the end of the world. Sucky prophecy there if Sonic's gonna keep the world from ending. And the Omniviewer who is supposed to be keeping Supersonic almost frozen in time shows up and warns them that they're all in danger. In the next story, Knuckles returns to the floating island at last, only to find the village of the Emerald Hill folk deserted with damage to the windows and houses. He naturally blames himself for this happening, which is self-aware of him. I mean, he did leave the island for a long time, and he plans to scan the island for life scans if he can get Haven's systems back up. Porker in the Chaos Chamber, who didn't do anything to prevent all of this damage from happening to the village despite being capable of inventing a whole bunch of different inventions, says that he was thinking Knuckles was one of the people who kidnapped the Emerald Hill folk. How did he escape from that fate? That was convenient. He says that he's been learning about the island's tunnel system, so he managed to lose them. And he built a transmitting device and just contacted the Special Zone when Knuckles turned up. We see him talk to Sonic briefly like he did before, only for the transmitting device to blow up. So why did it blow up? Did he just suck at making it? The story ends with Eggman teaming up with Dr. Zachary, rather than Zachary getting to be a unique villain who stands on his own. So all the spotlight will be on Sega's game villain Darling. At least RG never had Finitivis work with Eggman, literally the second time we'd see him. At least Zachary's half cyborg now, as you can see from his face, so it's kind of original. It gives this design much more menace than it did before. In the next story, oh yeah, it's called Boiling Point. I wonder what it's going to be about. We see the civilians in the chemical plant being forced to work like dogs, making toxo cubes that could pollute an entire lake with just one of them. Again, what sense does it make to have a villain want to destroy the environment? Nobody wants that. It's so incredibly lazy that we'll never learn why Robotnik would want to do that. It turns out that Vermin was in charge of the operation. Shortfuse gives their position away by rushing at him because he doesn't want to wait for a plan from Amy. Shortfuse and Vermin fight much to the entertainment of the civilians, which is relatable of the civilians who find that entertaining. And the heroes run away, with Johnny saying that they'll have a better chance if they split up. A robot trooper appears out of nowhere and somehow grabs Tails and Amy when Tails was flying with her high up in the sky. Amy tells Shortfuse to forget Vermin and grab Johnny before he would fall into boiling toxic waste. Vermin reminds Shortfuse that the tip of his tail has a virus that paralyzes his circuits. Shortfuse idiotically attacks him, destroying the processing machine, despite Amy's order. And for some reason the robot trooper lets go of Tails and gives him a chance to rescue Johnny, because I guess he was feeling generous that day. Amy says that Vermin and the troopers are teleporting away, And Sharpfuse thinks that because the machine's destroyed and the workers are free, they've won, failing to realize that all of the heroes' victories are really pointless because they're just temporary setbacks for Eggman compared to actually arresting the guy. He can just replace the factory's machines and robots, and round up more slaves. Then Amy and Johnny yell at Sharpfuse because his impatience and temper almost got Johnny killed, with Amy asking him why he sociopathically chose to pointlessly attack Vermin over saving Johnny with his flight ability. It was only pointless because of warp technology though, and he didn't know that. Amy calls Sharpfuse out on his selfishness putting the heroes in danger, reminding him that their priority is to save lives. This causes Sharpfuse to take off on his own, with Amy glad he's gone. Her next line literally drops the title of the story, and if the story was named something less obvious, it wouldn't have been so stilted. And wouldn't there be a "the" before boiling point? Is this a difference in British English? The first two stories were by Nigel Kitching. In the first one, after a villain who wants to wipe out the city with a virus is defeated by Sonic's super speed, Supersonic starts to show up, with his yellow light trail creating a second sun in the sky that forecasts the end of the world. Is this literally, like, would this create the effects of a second sun, like, heating up the world? Because if they're able to see his light from that far away, then wouldn't that destroy the world long before he would get there? Whatever. The second story has Knuckles realize that there's no one left in the village on the floating island, and Dr. Zachary has immediately teamed up with Eggman after his first appearance and became a cyborg. Is he brainwashed to be loyal to him, or has bombs in him to ensure it? If so, that's officially legionization. Too bad he'll probably get overshadowed by Eggman since he's inventor too. That's so lame. And the third story by Lou Stringer has Sharpfuse choosing to fight Vermin over saving Johnny from boiling acid, and Johnny only survives because Tails magically got free of the Robot Trooper's grip and saved him. While Sharpfuse's risk wasn't even worth it because Vermin and his troopers can teleport away now out of nowhere. Doesn't he care about them at all? He never showed any indication that he did, and they never had any friendship moments together, so it makes sense. This causes Sharpfuse to be kicked out of the team because his selfishness and impatience just put them in danger instead of protecting them. Even though this is literally the first time one of them needed him to rescue them, and he didn't. And there were plenty of times when he did rescue people, like he saved Sonic one time and Sonic was reluctant to admit that he helped. It makes sense that they kicked him out though. He was being disobedient and going after Vermin without letting Amy think of a plan first. You'd think Sonic would have the problem too, since he's impatient too, but he's also smart.